So, welcome to our today's roundtable, Educating Sustainability in Software Engineering Research and Practice. My name is Sven Bühner, I'm the Managing Director of IREB. And I'm happy to have this first roundtable of our sustainability group from the IREB side. And I'm super excited having so many top-class experts in our roundtable today. And I'm happy to get this discussion rolling. Maybe from my side, as I will only be the host of today's session, some organizational topics. This meeting is getting recorded, and so you can just share the meeting with your network, or you can have a look in the meeting if you want to look up what has been talked about afterwards as well. So the recording will be available right after the session on LinkedIn and also at YouTube. And I would also engage you that you use the chat to ask questions, because even if we have panelists and they will discuss certain topics on the topic of sustainability, I would like to motivate you as participants to be part of our discussion and to use the chat to ask your questions. I will try to have an eye on the chat and to moderate these questions into the discussion where this fits. We will not ask any poll questions this time, but I will have a short teaser already. On April 1st, we will have a sustainability survey that will be published, and I will also share this sustainability afterwards with the comments in this live stream. So you are happily invited to also participate on this survey. That's more or less all from my side. So I'm super happy having Eddie today as our moderator for this session. And Eddie is a requirements engineer, let me say by heart, I would say. Even if he looks so super young, I think he has experience in RE for quite a while. And currently he's working for Fraunhofer IESE in Germany, coordinating the research management on digital sustainability. He's also author of several papers, co-author of several papers. He's program committee member for the RE conference or the Rescue conference, and last but not least, that's why he's here today, he's a member of IREB. And Eddie, happy that you are here, and hand over to you.
Thank you very much. Welcome to everyone, to our panelists, to our guests here today. Glad to have you all here, and it is indeed a privilege to be moderating this session. I lead the special interest group on sustainability at IREB, and this is our first roundtable that we organized. So why did we start with one about educating sustainability in software engineering research and practice? Why is this important? Well, for us, this touches on many crucial topics, on awareness of sustainability, on its understanding, on helping people get the right mindset, and also to have the right knowledge and tools to actually make a difference. So this is why we wanted to kick this off with a panel discussion with very seasoned scholars and industry people who will share their experiences, because we will learn also that it's not as easy maybe as it might sound to educate on sustainability. And so this is why at SIXAS, the special interest group, we also want to promote awareness of this topic. So I will try to keep my words short, and let's cut to our great panelists. So I would like each of you to introduce yourself and maybe briefly describe what you do regarding teaching sustainability. And I would like to ask Patricia to start.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here. I'm Patricia Lago. I'm professor in software engineering sustainability at the Vrije Universiteit Amsterdam. And there I co-lead the group on software and sustainability S2. So my work is centrally on software architecture, design decision-making, and sustainability qualities, and how you actually embed sustainability when you design and evolve systems. We actually started teaching sustainability in software engineering. I was checking in 2014, actually a while ago. So we have two master programs, one in computer science, software engineering, green IT since then, and a more recent one, I think 6-7 years ago, on information sciences there. And over the year, we developed also professional courses that now we consolidated. Actually, we consolidate our research in trying to get impact, create impact with the industry.
Thank you. Maybe Jari, you would like to go next?
Thank you, Eddie. Yes, I can continue from here, representing also the academia, and I'm a professor, software engineering professor at Lund University in Finland. And let's say that my journey on sustainability and ICT and sustainability and software started already 2013, when our university was the first one in Finland to announce that sustainability is the key in all our research, in all our education, and so on. At the same time, we managed to get this kind of Erasmus Mundus, International Erasmus Mundus Master's Program, a PERCOM, Pervasive Computing and Communications for Sustainable Development, and later on, the one that is on my background, SE4GD, Software Engineers for Green Deal, together with Patricia and Henry Muccini from Italy. And basically, that's the education part. The second part that brings some expertise for me, for the last 5 years, we have had some projects together with the Finnish industry to educate and increase the awareness on sustainability on those companies participating in the national ecosystem of green ICT. And then we also have regional ecosystems, one close to Helsinki, the Uusimaa region, one in the eastern Finland, one in western Finland, one in the northern Finland. So we have had a lot of activities together with industry to kind of promote the sustainability. And the third point that I want to bring out is that actually all the activities, or most of the activities within the let's say mid-size and small companies on sustainability started 2021, when the Finnish Ministry of Transportation and Communication announced, or actually published, a ICT or climate and environmental strategy for the ICT sector. I was part of the group who was preparing that, and the idea of that strategy was to show the ways for the companies and what to do, how to do, etc. And that actually started all the actions, or most of the actions in Finland.
Okay, thank you also for these insights on how things happen in Finland. So let's go to Germany, Torsten.
Yeah, thank you. At first, thank you so much for having me here in this wonderful round of people. I'm Torsten from Germany. I call myself a digital sustainability, sustainable UX, and responsible AI activist. I'm one of the founders of the Sustainable UX Network, which is a nonprofit global community and initiative. We have a huge community space. We have a huge resource database of sustainable design resources. We do events. I run a podcast, actually, where I interview wonderful people from around the world. Just recently, Jerry McGovern, and I can highly recommend to follow this guy on LinkedIn. He has an intense output and is just a wonderful guy. And part of that is also the Sux Academy. So I'm doing courses and classes for designers and also for design and product teams, teaching people how to implement digital sustainability in their product and design processes, actually. And maybe last but not least, I'm also the co-author of the Web Sustainability Guidelines that are, they are still already available. They are still under development, but you can already use them. Yeah, and I do a lot of talks, workshops, and give a lot of courses around that topic. And though I have a design background, I'm for quite some time no longer only acting in design, but I think bringing together all the different disciplines is so important to do sustainability in the digital space. So that's why I'm also super happy to be here with all you wonderful people and to have this conversation.
Well, and with this explanation, I think it makes sense to all the listeners why we also invited you on this panel discussion. And finally, Michael.
Grüezi from Switzerland. I am a senior lecturer at the Zurich University of Applied Sciences. My area is software engineering. And our university, because we do applied sciences, we are quite close to the industry. So we work a lot with industry partners. And my personal journey into sustainable software started 4 years ago when we were approached by a company from the textile business. And they said, our company, we are pushing very strongly towards sustainability because the textile business is water intense and energy intense and so on. But our software development department, they would like to contribute to sustainability, but they don't know how. And then we started a very interesting research project in which we find out that the software developers and architects and so on, they have very little knowledge about sustainability. They had some awareness of energy consumption, but all the other dimensions, there was nothing. And then we thought, actually, we are training computer scientists. We are training the software engineers of tomorrow at our institution. And we found out we actually do very little in our education and training for the future generations of software engineers. So we started in 2 elective modules to teach sustainability in software engineering. One was with a focus on requirements engineering. One was with a focus on cloud computing. That was a wonderful success. Maybe there's an opportunity to tell more about this later. And now I want to extend this so that every computer science student at our university gets a basic knowledge of sustainability. So just last semester, we integrated sustainability knowledge into the basic programming courses with mixed success. So there was a lot of learnings from that, but this is still my goal. I want every computer science student at our university to have sustainability knowledge.
Excellent. Well, as you see, we have 4 highly experienced panelists from 4 different countries representing both universities of applied sciences, and also practice. And that's also why we want to go really in depth about, what is happening in research, what is happening in practice towards educating. But let's first start with the question about what is sustainability, because probably many people will have a different understanding of what sustainability is. So I would actually like to ask each panelist, can you briefly say what is sustainability to you? Who would like to start?
Should I start?
Sure.
Of course, we're talking about software engineering, and so my assumption is that within this context, for me, sustainability is a combination of 3 different factors. One, which is typical, classic nowadays in our field, I think, you have 4 or 5 dimensions that color basically the sustainability requirements or the sustainability features. And in that respect, you want to have benefits from using, for instance, software with respect to these dimensions. And this is the technical dimension. So we are talking about technologies and the ecological, environmental dimension, for instance, energy consumption or carbon footprint. Then the economic, so you have cost and return on investments and affordability, for example, and finally social. So in the end, software is useful if it's being used, and then you have to target users. And the 5th one, which is more classic in requirements engineering, is the individual dimension. So when you embrace also human-computer interaction. But the other 2 elements that I think are underestimated is time and context. So time is, we don't have any sustainability if it is not, let's say, a preservation over time of certain benefits. And context changes. So if we don't embrace change, also we cannot talk about sustainability. So in fact, not all dimensions are relevant for any type of software, but time and context, I argue that are always important.
I believe this is already a very great overview. Does any of the other panelists have something to add or contrast?
I would love to add, because, okay, Patricia really opened up the whole thing, and of course I could continue with this Joseph Tainter's approach for what to sustain and for how long, etc. But actually I want to bring the kind of the industry perspective from my industry experience, and now that in Finland they published this climate strategy for the ICT sector, it definitely focuses more on the environmental aspects as such, and also the EU CSRD directive that requires companies to consider the emissions, and as such kind of looking at the environmental aspects. Many of our projects are green something, so kind of referring more on the environmental aspects. But still, you can see that some companies, they are not only focusing on the environmental aspects, they are not only focusing on one consultation company. They said to me that it would be really kind of naive, or it's the easiest way to start focusing on the environment, and the other one is the technical, because everybody is doing that. So they actually took this individual dimension as their perception, that how can they help.
Oh, it seems like we've lost Jari. Then let's ask Michael and Thorsten.
Just to contrast to Jari, I think there's a lot of focus already on the environmental aspect. To me personally, I think we should look a lot more at the social and individual aspect, because digital technology permeates society.
I'm coming to that.
Unprecedented rate.
Leading to that direction.
Not a criticism. So if we think about social media alone, the power that it has, the influence on people, on societies, on the world. So let's not forget about these dimensions. And I was very happy, Patricia, that you started with laying out the different dimensions, because I think they're all important, and we shouldn't forget about one of the dimensions.
I agree on that they are important, but when you discuss with the developers and the product managers, they usually have more emphasis on the environmental and the technical aspects. And the social one, those companies, they already have had the social part in the ESG reports, and as such, it's kind of taken into account, but it's not yet on the product or developer level. That's my experience. It should be a person is that we should take all these aspects into account, not only footprint, but also handprint of all those solutions.
Maybe I can add two sentences here, because I also think it's super important that we do not only think about carbon impacts, right? So, but I think the problem is it's much easier to measure or estimate carbon impacts than any other aspect. And I think that's the reason why people so often focus on the carbon impacts. And I see that in my work, that people sometimes ask, right? Yeah, but we want to focus first on carbon impacts. Exactly what you said. Still, I think it's the one thing is what's happening on this super how to say that, tactical implementation level, but then we have another level of, I think, general understanding. And I'm switching to a design perspective here now. What is the context of the digital product or service that we are building? So as a designer, as a UX designer, we learned and we fought very long for, we need to focus on the user, and we need to fight for making a good product for the user, and somehow align that with the business aspects, right? With the business people. And so we bring together user needs and business needs. And we totally leave out the surrounding ecosystem of the product or service or website or whatever we build. And I use the term build and not design, because that's not a designer thing. That's a thing of the teams building digital services. And I think that is, and I mentioned we need to add to our understanding at the very beginning of when we build digital products, what's the surrounding ecosystem, and what are the impacts? What are the negative consequences for the surrounding ecosystem of the stuff that I build. And there we need to look not only on the carbon impacts, but also on all the other aspects. Because especially, again, talking as a UX person, right? Creating more convenience for the user always causes a price that needs to be paid somewhere else, very often by other individual beings, right? If I make a great delivery service, then more delivery people are necessary. They are not paid well. So that's a social injustice we create there.
Thorsten, let's stay with you for a second, because we are already touching upon things that I think have a very strong impact on the mindset that people have, on the knowledge that they have, on how to do things right. And what we've seen is that to teach sustainability often means professional training of current employees or educating students who will be future employees. But that, of course, only makes sense if there's a demand from industry, if the company actually appreciates the fact that their workforce actually sticks to these design rules, that they understand how to design software. And a question that we had is, why don't companies consider sustainability as much as we would like?
I think the problem is that many people have not understood that sustainability is already a business case. And that's something we need to teach, or where we need to create better narratives. I mean, I think we are living in a world that is so much narrative driven, which is funny because we are talking about data all the time, right? And we are talking about data driven whatever. And in the end, we are dominated by narratives. That's what we also see on the political side, but that's a total different thing. So we need to create narratives that explain to people, hey, sustainability is already a business case. And we have heard about the EU level, right? The new Green Deal and the CSRD reporting. And for example, a very nice narrative is what I tell people sometimes is like, hey, the pain you have with accessibility at the moment, right? These companies that have not made their homework yet, and now they need to fulfill the accessibility rulings. I tell them, hey, the same will happen to you with digital sustainability within the next years, because, right, so far, digital emissions were not important on reporting levels for these whole reporting departments, but they will become relevant now with the new reporting directive on EU level. That's just one narrative. So we need to find these narratives. That's one thing. And the other thing is, what's also super powerful is making impacts transparent and visible. That's what I see all the time. And I said, I do a lot of talks and workshops, and it's still so powerful just to show people with simple examples, hey, that is the impact of your stuff. If you have a website with 2.5 million users per month, you could easily emit, 20 tons of CO2 per month just with this website. People are not aware of this. And if we make this tangible to the people, that is still super powerful. It's still an extreme exhausting way that we are going there, and we need to do it step by step. But getting to this narrative level and getting to this visibility level of negative impacts is super helpful and impactful. And I can tell that from my own story that this is definitely a powerful way to do things.
Thank you. Patricia, I believe that you've researched both for industry and for students how that impact is. Can you concur with what Thorsten is saying?
Yeah, I totally agree. I would mention one thing further, which also Thorsten suggests, but it's not always explicit, namely making concrete the impact, and it's an important step, and its current focus also various regulations and standards. But also we forget about the importance of learning. So I'm talking about what are the decisions, for instance, in the software, and what are the good practices that led to such impact. So it's not only about fulfilling, for instance, a carbon reporting and having a number, but also knowing exactly, tracing what are the actions in, for instance, the digital solution that led to that number. So this learning leads to changes in practices in companies, and so builds competencies, skills, and so forth. And the other aspect that maybe I want to mention is I find it in my experience totally important, the company culture, in that sustainability, going back to the problem of is not always addressed in practice. Sustainability must be a priority. If it's set, so top down must be set as a priority. This priority motivates operationalizing practices, impacts, measuring, and so forth. And then also motivates everybody in the company to contribute, to become a champion of sustainability. So, and then this triggers, okay, what are the competencies that I'm missing? And then also the whole positive cycle of education. So it's not only about knowing stuff, so competencies and skills, but also how the company actually can create this positive cycle, top down and bottom up.
Thank you very much. So now we've seen the industry perspective. I'm also wondering, what about teaching students? Are there specific unique challenges in teaching students on how to think about sustainability, about how to apply sustainability in their projects? And how have you integrated sustainability in your curriculum?
There are, in my experience, two types of integrations. One is central. So you have courses like before also Jari mentioned and Michael, like measuring the energy footprint of software or cloud computing, managing resources. But also there are, let's say, cross-cutting type of courses in which I have the traditional competencies in software engineering, for example, project management or architectural design, and then I apply these to specific cases, for instance, cases from industry, projects, assignments. So if you have a combination of these central skills and also application of sustainability in different software engineering competencies, then you can build an interesting program that triggers also these soft skills in the students. So critical thinking about what are the dimensions of sustainability that are important, for instance, for, I don't know, interface design rather than cloud computing infrastructure. And then this also colors the plans, what quality attributes are important, what should I report about, and so forth. So there is this combination of direct, indirect, and this combination also of skills and competencies.
Mm-hmm. Michael, would you also like to share from your experience?
Yes. The first reaction that I saw with students when we confronted them with the topic of sustainability was quite mixed. So it's a bit like in society. There are like half of the people who roll their eyes when you talk about sustainability, and they say, no, everybody's talking about sustainability and it's greenwashing. I don't want to hear about it. And there's the other half that is very interested in the topic, and you can start a discussion. Nevertheless, once we taught our students what sustainability actually means in the context of software engineering, in requirements engineering, but also in software architecture and design, they became very curious, and within a very short amount of time, they were able to think about how their project, because they were working on a project as part of our course, how they can address certain sustainability aspects in their project, and they were able to do that and to present it later in their project. And it was not because they had to do it, but because they really owned the topic. Then that was very nice to see that all the students in our course had this awareness and basic knowledge of sustainability, and we didn't teach them for like the whole semester. We used like I think 2 lessons in the second week to teach the sustainability context, gave them a paper to read, and that was it. That was like the initial flame that started then the fire.
Jari, is that also your experience?
Let's say that I had some idea that I was about to say, but let's say that Patricia started with the idea that yes, in software engineering we have quite nicely defined set of skills, knowledge, skills, and competencies. Those profession-oriented, work and employment-oriented things, as well as those soft, or how do we call those nowadays? Anyway, those kind of communication skills, teamwork, etc. But if you are looking, or when we started doing these things, when we started looking at, hey, is there similar kind of a thing for sustainability? No, there were not. At the moment, these days, you do find you have the European Green Comp document that shows what kind of competencies, competence areas and competencies you have for sustainability that you would have. And we also have our own sustainability mindset framework as such. But when we started creating this SC4GD, Software Engineers for Green Deal, we tried to create similar kind of a skill and competence matrix as there is for software engineering, in such a way that how would we define what is there in sustainability mindset? How are we then educating those things? So how do the students understand the limitations of the planet? How do they get some visions? How do they want to change, and how do they act? Or what kind of tools we need to provide them so that they can really, for example, calculate those CO2 emissions of some solutions, etc. So it requires I would say that it requires some kind of a thinking that, hey, what do you want to achieve over here in order to achieve this kind of a sustainability or sustainable mindset, so that even if you are only educated in sustainability, in requirements engineering, you still know that, okay, when you are designing, you still have the same mindset. Or when you start implementing things, you have the same mindset. So how do we get the mindset for the students? And that has been the thing what we have been doing for the last years, and trying to find out that what are the best ways of doing it. It can be a single course, it can be a module in a course, or it can be a completely new curricula in which is basically built on this sustainability.
I would like to add one thing here.
Go ahead.
So I'm coming from a little bit different bubble, right? Because when I do a course, the people come to me to make this course. So they already have this mindset. And one very important thing that I see, especially with younger people, is, or one question that arises all the time, yeah, but what can I do? I'm just a junior, whatever. What can I do? I don't have any impact. And so we need to teach the people, I think, tools for these greater understanding, but also these little things that they can bring into their daily work. And one very important thing is, besides introducing new tools and methodologies, and we have built new tools on our own as well, it's super important to enhance existing tools, processes, methodologies, because it's so much easier for people if they use a certain tool in their process and say, okay, here's an additional layer of whatever information that we collect there or that we use there. It's much easier to bring that to the process. What could be quick wins? What could be things that people can maybe even do without asking for permission at their managers? So these quick win things are also super important to teach people, because what's the one step that I can do as a junior designer, programmer, whatever I am. So that's also a super important layer I wanted to add here.
And if I might jump in here quickly, very often we saw that, especially with our industry partners, that people have very little awareness and knowledge of sustainability, but they were following sustainable practices. So just as an example, if you do agile software development and you have a scrum of your developers, this has a positive, or potentially a positive, impact on the social dimension of sustainability. You empower people. If you optimize your software testing apparatus, your goal is to save energy. You have automatically an impact on the environmental status. So if you show this to people, that actually sustainability is not a goal that is extremely difficult to achieve and very far away, but everyone is typically, if we follow best practices, we are already we use sustainable practices, and I think this makes it easier for people to adapt it. Torsten, you mentioned the tools, to use the existing tools, and my point is also that the existing practices, they often entail sustainable practices. So we don't need the 180-degree change of. Sometimes we do need it, sometimes we don't.
That's a great point. That's why I dropped in again. No, not dropped in. I was there all the time, but I just switched off my camera. And I've just seen a question with respect to tools in the chat. Simona is asking, do you have any recommendations on tools for assessing sustainability that can be used in software sustainability courses?
Yeah, I think there are many, if I may mention. As Michael says, one thing, there are actually a number of initiatives that are building practices, so the usable practices. Some measure, some less measures, but also these are low-hanging things that are found to be useful, and then people make their own, as also Torsten mentioned. So, for example, the Green Software Foundation in the Netherlands, we have the National Coalition Sustainable Digitalization, and we share these as archives, catalogs of practices, etc., that are open source, can be used. And sometimes to companies they ask, I just give them. Also, but also other colleagues, we believe in open source. So there are like assessment tools, quality assessments, and standards. Also for architectural design, we have toolkits that we use also in our professional training. So I think the point is, what I would suggest via, for instance, this organization, or also social media like LinkedIn, we could simply share these links and people can find what is valuable.
I think that's an excellent idea.
Yeah, I'd like to give the room to one more panelist to also give their take on this question.
I totally agree with what Patricia already said. I just want to add another thing, and that's not a tool, but that's something that I saw in awesome projects that I did, is when we start thinking about sustainability in our digital products, the very good first step is, what could be 5 quick wins that make my product, whatever, more sustainable? So if I look at a digital service or product, for sure I will easily find 5 things without making a huge complicated assessment, because sometimes assessment sounds like, oh, now we need to make a big assessment, whatever, right? And very often a very good first step is, what could be 3 to 5 quick wins, things that we could easily change, being it, I don't know, being it on a website, getting rid of the background video that is causing grams of CO2 per page. Just one example. And I see that everywhere. And I just want to add this as one additional thing that also is super helpful.
But if I may, what is really important there is that one measures before and after. It seems obvious, but it is not always the case. So being able to learn, how do I measure the impact of these 5 low-hanging fruits, and then being sure, okay, is this leading in the right direction or wrong? That's fundamental. So only in that way reporting is actually working to learn.
Excellent. Okay, I would like to bring back the discussion to where we were gathering some challenges that we saw in education. So we've seen that for students, it takes some time to rekindle or kindle the fire in them. And once they do, it's actually quite possible to create that mindset with them. People in practice need to be equipped to even if they're in a junior position, need to be able to bring in their take on sustainability. So give them kind of like a circle of influence to work. And we've also seen that, it's a challenge for them to have the right awareness and knowledge. But now let's move more in towards the success factors that you've had. So are there things that you've tried, different educational formats, different aspects of sustainability that you taught? Maybe some things actually have noticeably led to different ways of how to empower and engage students and practitioners, which you could then also see in the products of their work. So I would just like to ask each of you, what experience did you have teaching sustainability, and where are the successes? What are good practices that others might actually be able to apply?
I don't know if I can kickstart, but
of course you can always.
Maybe I repeat myself. But both professional and novices students, for me was success the use of a project where to put theory into practice. And this project either is come from your companies or is something that resonates with the student, or both. So sometimes we have our industrial partners that offer a case, and then the students show also to this how they can apply what they learn in sustainability to this case, and they come all with very creative type of solution, and this inspires them. So everybody, and for the practicing student, they can also showcase within the company, look, this is really good, and acts also as you start to become basically a champion of sustainability in digital.
I would like to continue that, because this is like our capstone courses. I really keep it really important that the companies and the students can be connected together, having those nice cases. It's not only a good thing for the students, because before we start the course and the capstone, it's really important that we also discuss with the company and kind of educate them as well, that what can we really do, so that they can also learn things. So it's a win-win for the students as well as for the companies that are participating in this kind of a capstone or project course, what Patricia was mentioning, or what we are doing.
Do we have a question from the audience, Dan?
Yes, we have several questions.
Oh.
So maybe one, I think that's also fitting here. I'll try to show this question. Now it's working. Correct. Great. So question is, sustainability is quite broad. Yes, true. And are there systematic efforts among various software engineering communities to build a solution together? And I think this is quite important, that not every role, let's say, in software engineering is trying to hunt his own solution. Do you have any ideas, any suggestions, answers?
Maybe this could be one for Torsten to comment on because of your network.
Yeah, for example, there is, I was speaking about the web sustainability guidelines, which are at the moment a community draft. But what just recently happened at the end of last year is that there is now an official interest group at the W3C working on web sustainability. So this is only web, but so there is this group of wonderful people led by a friend of mine, Tim Frick, and other wonderful people, and I have the honor to be part of this. But that's one example, and it's you can join that group to work on that. The guidelines are already there. What I see is super helpful about this, like all the other W3C stuff. That's the designer of me talking. It's super formal. It's and that is super helpful in discussion with many people to have these very formal, standardized, whatever things. So that's one thing. I can speak for the design community as well. I mean, our network is also an example of bringing people together and work on things in joint efforts, actually. And there are many others. I think one of the challenges we still see at the moment is to bring people even more together and to have different communities getting together and work on things. But it is happening at the moment on all levels.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
I think the question just will show the question from Isabel. And I think it's going into the same direction as far as I understood the question correctly. This is sent off with this information on sustainability in software, popular research. I mean, popular research is probably something on top. Maybe do you have some additions on this one? Maybe also on research on sustainability, where you can say here is a good resource to where you can find several papers and materials.
Yeah. Well, there are, I think, two. So, of course, we have our Digital Sustainability Center with resources, but it's more limited. There are two big initiatives, I think, in software engineering that developed over the years and gained traction. One is for more requirements engineering and awareness creation, the SUSE framework. And the other one is the SAF toolkit that we developed, which is more for software architecture design and quality assessment. These have been used by many. And the other thing is that there are, of course, depending on the competencies that you look for, there are communities like in requirements engineering, like in software engineering broadly, etc. And there are many, there are cross-cutting initiatives, like, for instance, in the ICSE conference on software engineering, there is a track only on software engineering in society. And there are a lot of papers that can be found, etc. And this is valid, I think, nowadays for many different conferences. One community that maybe we put forward also open access of publications is the ICT4S community, which is truly interdisciplinary, and all is ictfors.org, and all publications are open access. So, but of course, it depends if you are an academics, that you are comfortable with academic topics, or a researcher, or a practitioner. And for the second, I would look for more, let's say, good practices that are being shared.
Maybe to add, because you mentioned that before, Patricia, the Green Web Foundation is a great source for very practical resources. I can highly recommend.
The Green Software Foundation.
I meant the Green Web Foundation, but okay, they are also a great source of resource. So there, for example, you get the JavaScript library that is used in all the web measurement tools that measure carbon impacts, and they also explain how to build that into applications if you want to use it there. Just one example, but
yeah, I like that a lot because it's operational, so it's practical.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's really, you can apply them and you see what you get out of that. So not all initiatives are so practical. Maybe some you understand them, but still you don't know, okay, what now?
Okay, Stan, I think we have time for one more audience question.
Yeah, we have one more. So
excellent.
If we have the time. So there's another one. I think already a while ago we talked about the business case impact of sustainability. And Jari?
Yeah, I definitely want to answer this because we were discussing this last week when we were having our national ecosystem meeting and events in a couple of cities. And 2021, when the strategy was published in Finland, quite many companies, they contacted us and the ministry and were asking that, hey, what can they do? Some of them were really enthusiastic, wanted to do a lot of activities. 2022, 2023, the activity came down because they didn't see quick wins over there. And last week when we were discussing, some companies that have managed to do things, they actually started saying that, yes, you can sell the sustainability to your management when you make it like savings of cloud costs, whatsoever that are over there. So you can sell your development through the cost savings. And then one company said that all right, now that the producers, the producers of those software solutions, they are not really seeing that they can get the investments paid back through different kind of a project, then maybe we should ask the procurers, those who are buying the software, to have the criteria and require things. And actually in Finland we had one project in which we made some software requirements or criteria for software procurement such a way that the environmental aspects would be taken into account. They are publicly announced in the national criteria banks, so that whoever is doing procuring of any service, they can look for that criteria bank and kind of get some criteria for there. And those software sustainability criteria has been defined in such a way that then the producers, they need to be able to answer that, and there are some ways of answering to those. So then when the offers are compared, when you are buying the software, then they can also take the sustainability into account. And that actually brings the need also for the producers to start thinking if they can otherwise get things advanced in their companies. Okay, I could continue this. There is so many features of this thing that I could open up, but let me end up here. So there is business cases you may have to sell it differently inside the house, and then of course there can also be the pressure from outside that, hey, you need to do these things.
We have so many leads to a future roundtable, I would suppose. And before we get to the last question, because we are coming to the end of this hour, I would just first like to say a few things so that we don't have the announcements at the end. I would at least already like to thank all the panelists, all of you who've tuned in, definitely also those who have asked very interesting, triggering questions. And as Stan said before, this recording will be available right away on LinkedIn and YouTube after this roundtable is over. Please also remember to participate in our survey, which should launch at the 1st of April. We will announce it also in the meeting invite for this roundtable. And yeah, let's go to the final question. We still have some time for each of you to answer that. And I would like to start with Michael, because you weren't able to really share about your best practices earlier. So the final question we have is, what is your personal advice to our participants if they want to promote awareness and knowledge of sustainability?
Yes, so we talked a lot about business case from a company perspective. I'd like to turn this around and think about a business case for students, because their main resources are time and mental capacity, and students are very smart in using these resources. So they use these resources for achieving good grades and finishing their studies. And if we give them additional content, we must provide very good arguments why the students should invest their resources into sustainability topics. And with the same for companies, and I think Torsten made a very good statement that you need to show that there is actually a business case for sustainability for companies, because it's an investment into the future. I think the same we need to achieve with our students, that they view it as an investment, even if they don't see the immediate benefit. And one way we can do it is by linking the sustainability topics to the topics that we already teach them. So for example, we start now in the first semester with object-oriented design. We talk about loose coupling and high cohesion. So what does that have to do with sustainability? And then you can just give them a pointer that if they have loosely coupled code, it will be easier to maintain. So and code is read much more often than it is written. So it's written once, read many times. So in the long run, it will save them mental capacity, it will save them time, it will save them money. So it's a good investment. And then you have immediately this connection from software engineering practices to sustainable practices without a lot of effort. And there are many bridges that you can build between the computer science curriculum and sustainable practices.
Great. Okay, Torsten, what is your advice, or what is your recommendation?
Well, I think the most important one is it's better to start with whatever you want to start. That's especially an advice I give to, especially to the younger people who are saying, and we had that before, what can I do? I'm just a junior, whatever. And so equipping these people with these small things that they can do actually, and being at the narratives, the stories, being at the tool that they can use, being at an enhanced tool or methodology that is used already in the process. That's the thing that we need to give these people. But maybe the most important thing is also to give them confidence and hope that they can be a change, because I'm convinced that, and that's something I say very often in my workshops or my classes actually, is that everybody can be this small rock that brings the whole mountain to slide. And that is, it's also this mindset we need to bring these people, because what I see in my bubble is, right, as I said, I don't need to convince the people that I work with that we need to do this work. They are rather asking me for or asking us for how can I do this actually. So giving these confidence and this mindset to the people, especially in the world we see today, right, is super important. And bringing people together actually, because maybe I cannot be so much of an impact if I'm alone, but there are many, many other people who have the same mindset actually, and bringing these people together and joining forces actually, and equipping people with how they can get together with other people, that is also super, super important.
Okay, thank you. Patricia, what should be the takeaway for you?
Yeah, inspired by Michael before, I want to share indeed that there are many different ways of embedding sustainability in a program. One way that resonates with the many we did in the Master Information Sciences is a 1-year master program, and many practitioners also take that to rethink their competencies. And there we have a portfolio course in which, notwithstanding which type of courses you have, every period when you finish the courses in the portfolio, you have reflective questions that you think, okay, what did I learn in this course? And what does it mean for the digital transition and sustainability? So if you have any course in software engineering or even other things, then this brings the students translate into the basics of sustainability and what is really relevant. So I think this reflection, you build your own, as a professional, your own profile, and also helps in what Thorsten was saying, namely, you as a professional can inject the change and start this conversation in an existing company or for a new business, depending on the goal. So I think it's a reflection, and this cross-cutting type of teaching is also helpful in that.
Thank you very much. And finally, Jari.
I'll keep it short. I'll go with the same line with Thorsten and say that if you want to move, you won't need to take the first step. You really need to start doing something to the right direction. It doesn't have to be a big leap, just a small step, and continue doing that step after step.
Okay, thank you so much. For me, the takeaway is really, we've tried to raise awareness in this discussion, and we've seen that there are challenges, but what I saw as a kind of red thread is that there is a structure, there is already existing networks, there are already design rules, there are suggestions on how to take decisions, there are good practices that have already led to impact. And I hope that each of you who has tuned in today will take that away, that there is already help available, and there will be more help underway as we proceed driving forward this fascinating topic. Stan, would you like to do the honors?
Perfect. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Eddie, for the great moderation. Thanks a lot to Patricia, Michael, Thorsten, and Jari for having this great and lively discussion. I think that the participants really enjoyed the discussions, and I hope they could take away some more awareness and also some hints where they can find some resources. Doesn't matter if this is tools or content. And I think that was the goal of this roundtable, and this was, from my perspective, completely fulfilled. So thanks a lot. Thanks a lot to the participants. Thanks for your questions, and hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.